The idea of a girl being stranded on an island with two boys has appeared in various forms of storytelling, from classic literature to modern movies, television shows, and internet memes. While this specific plotline might seem simple or even niche, it taps into deeper themes of survival, social dynamics, and human relationships. This trope plays with tension, emotional stakes, and personal growth, often creating an intriguing and dramatic scenario that highlights human psychology in extreme conditions. The history of this scenario is shaped by literature, pop culture, and societal changes, transforming over time to reflect different attitudes toward relationships, gender, and social expectations. Early foundations of the stranded narrative. The origins of the stranded on an island theme can be traced back to the early history of storytelling, with stories of isolation and survival appearing in myths, legends, and classic literature. However, the concept of a girl being stranded with two boys is a more modern development, blending the survival narrative with romantic or social tension. One of the earliest and most famous examples of the island survival genre is Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe, 1719, a novel about a man who is shipwrecked on a deserted island. While the book doesn't feature a girl in this scenario, the isolated setting and theme of survival laid the groundwork for future interpretations of isolation and interaction with others in extreme conditions. The absence of female characters in early survival narratives reflects the gender norms of the time, which expected men to be the adventurers and explorers. The development of gender dynamics in stranded stories. As literature evolved, so did the exploration of gender roles in survival stories. In the 19th century, novels like The Coral Island, 1857, by R.M. Ballantyne, began to experiment with the theme of characters stranded on a deserted island. Though the focus was on male protagonists, these novels began to create a foundation for exploring group dynamics in isolation, which later influenced works with more diverse character representations. In the 20th century, the gender dynamics in survival fiction started to change, especially with the increasing visibility of women in literature and media. The arrival of feminist movements and the increasing involvement of women in various aspects of society shifted the lens through which survival narratives were told. Stories began to imagine different gender dynamics, and the possibility of female characters being part of such scenarios gained traction. In the realm of children's literature, for example, the idea of stranded characters started to include more varied social situations. Lord of the Flies, 1954, by William Golding, is perhaps one of the most famous works exploring the isolation of a group of boys on a deserted island, though no female characters are involved in the narrative. The absence of girls in such works spoke to the youth. By the late 20th and early 21st centuries, the girl stuck on an island with two boys trope began to take form more specifically in popular culture, particularly within movies, television shows, and books targeting young adult audiences. These narratives expanded beyond simple survival scenarios to explore the emotional and relational dynamics between characters, often with romantic or social tension at the forefront. One of the most well-known examples of this theme in modern media is the 2000 film Castaway, starring Tom Hanks, though it centers on the survival of a single man. The concept of a lone survivor on an island became iconic, and its themes of isolation and inner struggle were explored in a wide range of stories, from the perspective of men, women, and children alike. These stories often incorporate elements of love, desire, or rivalry, where isolation exacerbates existing social tensions or fosters new emotions. However, it wasn't until the early 21st century that the specific dynamic of a girl stranded with two boys started to emerge as a familiar trope. This scenario can be traced to a variety of romantic and social dynamics, especially within young adult fiction, where love triangles or emotional conflicts become key plot devices. One early example of this in popular media is the 2004 television series The Island, a reality show that put contestants in isolation on a remote island and caused them to form various alliances and rivalries. Though it wasn't a scripted show, it began to popularize the idea of isolation, leading to personal and romantic entanglements, a concept that would later make its way into fictional works. Fictional examples of The Girl, Two Boys, and The Island. The girl stuck on an island with two boys trope came to its fullest form in several works of literature and film in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, often as a vehicle for exploring adolescent emotions, romantic jealousy, and the complexities of attraction. These stories blend the psychological tension of survival with the emotional weight of relationships. One of the most iconic fictional portrayals of this scenario is the 2001 film The Blue Lagoon, starring Brooke Shields and Christopher Atkins. The movie, set on a tropical island, revolves around two young characters who are stranded on a deserted island and fall in love over the course of their isolation. Although the scenario doesn't include a third character initially, the central idea of romantic tension in an isolated environment set the stage for future portrayals of such situations, particularly with the introduction of rivalries and love triangles. In terms of books, The Island by Olivia Levez, 2015, is a notable example. The story follows a group of young people stranded on an uninhabited island after a shipwreck. While not strictly the two boys trope, the book explores how the relationships between a small group of survivors can shift and evolve under the pressure of survival. With Hunger Games, Suzanne Collins don't exactly match the island element, but do contain similar themes of isolation, survival, and complex relationships between protagonists. They are part of a larger tradition where adolescent characters, often stranded or facing extreme conditions, experience deep emotional shifts and romantic tensions. Cultural impact and psychological layers. The reason The Girl Stuck on an Island with Two Boys theme is so compelling to audiences lies in its ability to tap into deep psychological and social dynamics. Survival scenarios automatically introduce tension, fear, and stress, but when combined with romantic elements, the emotional stakes become even higher. In such stories, characters are often forced to confront their desires, insecurities, and social roles in intense and immediate ways. The presence of two boys often introduces a competitive or protective dynamic, where the girl must navigate her emotions or decide who to trust or align with. This element of choice is significant because it represents a form of control in an otherwise uncontrollable situation. Such dilemmas are relatable to many people, especially younger audiences who may face similar struggles with identity, attraction, and decision-making in their own lives. The thematic use of island scenarios in literature and film also speaks to the idea of human nature when stripped of society's conventions and pressures. Without the outside world, relationships evolve more organically and intensely, reflecting the raw, untamed aspects of human desire and survival. Conclusion: The Girl Stuck on an Island with Two Boys trope has evolved over the centuries, from its roots in early survival fiction to its modern portrayal as a rich, emotional, and social scenario. While the specific narrative may differ across various genres and forms of media, the core of the story remains constant. It is about relationships, survival, and the psychological transformation of characters when placed in extreme isolation. From its roots in classic literature to contemporary romantic dramas, the trope continues to captivate audiences by exploring the complexities of human interaction under pressure. As society's views on gender, relationships, and survival evolve, so too will the ways in which these stories are told. The island scenario will likely continue to serve as a metaphor for emotional and social exploration, pushing the boundaries of human connection in both challenging and romantic ways. This is an in-depth exploration of the girl stuck on an island with two boys theme, and it provides historical, cultural, and psychological insights into how this trope developed and influenced storytelling over time.